of the market. We'll be going through a bunch of different heat pump water heater form factors, both for the residential and the multifamily / commercial space. So super excited to have all of you here. AWHI has been doing a ton in the last few months. So we'll kind of reflect on that as well as what's new for 2025. So next slide, please. So first off, I'm going to pick on someone for the antitrust. And Jill, since your camera's on, may I ask you to read this out loud?
The Advanced, wait, is my voice? Yes, it is. The Advanced
Yeah, all
Water
good.
Heating Initiative, AWHI, is a member-supported collaborative of professionals from across the U.S. This diverse membership includes numerous competitors, and care must be taken to scrupulously abide by federal and state antitrust laws. Members should remember that antitrust compliance is important at all times. At this and other AWHI meetings, participants should not discuss competitive pricing, profitability, allocating markets or customers, or promotion of a particular product or accessory.
Sweet. Thanks so much, Jill. Next slide, please. And also just a huge shout out to our AWHI sponsors. We appreciate you helping make this work happen and getting to have great events like this one. Next slide. So yeah, for all stakeholders is our kind of big tent meeting, just going over what we do here. So bringing everybody together, be that, across utilities, program leads, really various building science experts, everybody in our field helping to drive the heat pump water heater market forward. So we appreciate you all being here. We'll also be providing the AWHI updates, as I talked about, and looking forward into the new year. We will be discussing market transformation and how to accelerate it. And then we'll also be talking about kind of what some of the nitty gritty on what AWHI has been doing more recently. Next slide. So just into the agenda here, had our introduction. We'll be talking about how to market heat pump water heaters. So we have a couple of great panelists there, super excited. And Trude will be moderating that from NBI. Then Vidisha and I will go into some state of the market report and initiative updates, kind of talking about some of the available products on the market, as I mentioned previously. And then we'll hit working group priorities for 2025. And we'll hear from several AWHI key leads on that. So yeah, next slide. With that, I will turn it over to Trude.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trude Tamara. I am the External Marketing Communications Manager / Project Manager for NBI. I welcome you all to this meeting. So today we're going to be discussing how to market HPWHs. Today we'll be conversing with Jill Vohr from the Environmental Protection Agency and Laura Wilson from the Building Decarbonization Coalition. And what we're going to be talking about is how to lead market transformation with the full spectrum of consumer engagement, right from journey mapping and decision making points to effective advertising and connecting with skilled workers. So join us and stick around, and kindly remember that this meeting does go for an hour 30. And also, if you have questions as Jill and Laura are going along, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I would say Jill and Laura, don't try to focus on the questions that are coming up in the chat. Just feel free to speed through your presentation, and we'll get a great Q&A session going on after that. Thank you so much. And for that, I'm going to lead us into Jill's presentation. Thank you, Jill.
Great. Okay. Hello, all. I am Jill Vohr, and I'm in product marketing at EPA Energy Star. And we have been very, very busy coordinating with our friends at NBI and AWHI and others to transform the market for heat pump water heaters. We're excited to share what we've done to date on growing demand, some successes. We were asked to share some successes. I have successes to share. Some challenges, I have those too. And just all our work here at EPA to try to get everybody to transition to the clean energy future with super efficient and clean electric heat pump water heaters. My favorite product, as I say. Next slide. And thanks y'all for driving. Recognizing that increasing consumer demand plays a critical role in market transformation, we've conducted a ton of consumer research mostly qualitative focus groups and the like, as well as journey mapping to get to how best to motivate the consumer towards a heat pump water heater. This is the familiar behavior change continuum. Our task here is really to get the customer to ask for a heat pump, right? See demand, which means we have to get through all the other stages along the continuum, including awareness, understanding, and relevance. Next slide. Through this work, we learned about top barriers that we have to overcome and work with to motivate demand. This is really the challenges. The first is a bit of a catch-22 in that perhaps the biggest barrier is that plumbers, our friends the plumbers, are not recommending it. And I will talk about this a bit more later when I get to challenges of heat pump water heater marketing. That's probably the biggest challenge, I think, is those plumbers. Another barrier, and we've heard this before, no one knows. If you've heard me present, I always say this. Nobody knows, nobody cares about a heat pump water heater. We talk about that a lot, sadly. I do, but not everybody else does. They just want hot water and only notice the water heater when it stops working. And then they are under duress and will take the easiest replacement, which usually is like for like, which unfortunately won't be a heat pump upgrade. That's what we're seeing. We all know also as a barrier, upfront costs. Heat pump water heaters are more expensive, and they're charging more for installation for sure. So sticker shock is going to keep people from making this choice. And of course, it takes time to figure out what, do the homework on what water heater to get, find the contractor, schedule the installation, find the money to pay for it. All these things can be very overwhelming. So those are the biggest barriers, top line barriers that we've learned through all of our research. Next slide. Okay, so some of these we are figuring out how to overcome, right? The Inflation Reduction Act, we're very excited about that. They will get to that first cost problem with instant rebates. Also utility program rebates, we're trying to move them midstream, make them instant. And of course, the energy savings that you get with these products, all of those really attack that first cost. So we're leaning into those for sure. The seeding demand, I mean, obviously we're doing as much advertising. I'm going to be talking a lot about advertising. And so we basically took this IRA opportunity and developed an overarching consumer education campaign, again, to get at this low awareness, low demand. That's really the goal of the campaign, and to lean into all of these benefits to appeal to customers at every level. And obviously with EPA, it's all about getting to that clean energy future and reducing carbon emissions. Next slide. So let me talk a little bit about our campaign. This is the classic marketing funnel. We're really just trying to move customers down that funnel, starting with awareness building, and then engagement, using different tactics, social media, banner ads to generate those clicks and to drive them to our landing page where we hope they'll take action and we get to conversion. So these are all parts of our consumer education plan that I'm going to go through explain. Next slide. Here's a little bit more about the role each tactic plays. So we talked about raising awareness. We use a video to do that. If there's time, I'll show you that video. And piquing interest and inspiring them to consider home upgrades in general. Again, pulling people in. We've had a lot of success in terms of video distribution with what's called Over the Top. It's a service that provides video ads as commercials with content that is streamed across many popular channels and devices. And you'll see, again, we've had a lot of success in getting video views with this, which is the metric for video. Next slide. For our video, and I will show it to you because it's only 30 seconds because we have to be quick because everybody's attention span is really short. We really wanted to take what is not very exciting, right, which nobody cares about, and make this technology really exciting. Position it as something that will potentially get people interested in having it in their homes. I call this our Tinkerbell ad since products are given a glow that makes them seem magical. And again, this video is purposely short because, you know, as we know, people are really busy and they don't have a lot of time, especially scrolling through social media and the like. The idea is to grab attention and make content pithy so it makes a quick impression. And with that, if we can play the video, again, just 30 seconds, that would be great. If you hit underneath. Water heater. Great, thank you. All right, see, short and sweet, to the point. Next slide, I'll talk about our social media. These are other tactics that complement the video. The popularity of social media makes it a strong part of any media mix. Further guiding audiences down the funnel with a quick hit impression, combined with a call to action to click to learn more. You'll see in these messages, just like the video, we're underscoring the benefits, increased comfort, easy energy savings, reliable performance, hot water with the heat pump water heater, and of course the opportunity for incentives. Next slide. Display ads do the same thing. These are more about generating clicks to the landing page. Again, action driving incentives leaning into those motivators that we learned through consumer research. So unwind with energy and money savings, right? You can relax, reliable hot water, and guess what? Get thousands in rebates and tax credits, right? Okay, next slide. Responsive display has been really excellent in advertising. It performs as good, if not better, than banner ads, and allows you to have several headlines and copy so you can test. It's sort of a way to A/B test, see what messages resonate the most, and then bring them back, et cetera. So it really helps honing in on effective messages. Next slide. And then we complemented it with paid search. And again, this really is down at the end of the funnel. We're getting people who are in market for these products, and we're sending them to our home savings tool. And that's the next slide. I think this is the biggest element of our campaign. The next slide is our home savings tool. So next slide. Really what we're looking for is to arm customers with everything they need to make this adoption. This is a one-stop shop for home upgrades, right? It includes obviously water heaters. It also includes heat pump and other AWHI incented products. You'll see that we've added recently induction cooking and heat pump clothes dryers. But it also provides upgrade guidance and not shown here, but access to a curated list of installers who are trained on heat pump water heaters. And we know that's really important, especially with the plumber issue that I'll get into. But what's great about this tool is how easy it is to use and how it quickly it delivers on what you're looking for. You just put in your zip code and it'll give you not only the AWHI incentives that are available, including the tax credits, but it also gives you utility rebates. And let's not discount the utility utility programs are excellent. Again, we're working to get them midstream and instant. Really stacking all of these things is really going to make a difference in terms of adoption. Next slide. And this is just quickly our first flight of this ad campaign. We actually focused on the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic states, and this was purposeful. The Mid-Atlantic has some really great incentives, utility incentives, but also the Southeast is predominantly electric, so you're not dealing with a fuel switch. And so it's an easier upgrade, right? And anyone who's using electric resistance in the Southeast, honestly, just get with the program, right? You're wasting money, you're throwing away money. And it's so surprising because the market penetration for heat pump water heaters in the Southeast is so low. And it's crazy because they know about heat pump technology with their heating and cooling. I don't know what's going on, but that's why we felt it was an opportunity market. And we as the government, because we're serving a public need, really want to go places where we feel like nothing's happening. There's no marketing going on for heat pump water heaters down here. So we want to get down here and we want to do the job and we want to move the market. And that's why we really focus there. Next slide. And here's the results for our first campaign. Again, talking about successes, really drove a lot more impressions and clicks than we had planned. So we're super excited with that. And I'll go into some, here's next slide is overall. Yay, we're getting there. Keep on humming along. This is just a quick look, a lot of numbers. I know this slide has a lot of numbers, but if you look at this, it's really great. And web engagement, I mean, for anybody who's in the business, campaigns don't produce high web engagement. Highest web engagements are like Amazon where you're shopping, right? Or your tax pages, right? Where you're actually working on the page. But we got like 42.57% engagement is huge for a campaign like this, an educational campaign. So yay, we're really excited. I'm just going to go through some of the things we learned in this campaign, and then I'll share about, so next slide. So for heat pump water heaters, you get from Google, you get what's the best headline and the best copy, and what the best images are. The best image is that woman in the tub. Everybody wants to have, everybody wants to relax in a bath. So that's working. Upgrade to Energy Star and save. People really trust Energy Star, and the idea of savings resonates. And energy saving water heaters are now more affordable with special government incentives. So it's just that incentives really does work. But we also featured fast payback and other energy saving messages did very well on Google as well. Next slide. In paid search, here are some of our best, the product specific, and anyone who's in the business of selling water heaters with paid search knows that just electric water heaters, heat pump water heaters, any product keywords is the best ones to use to get at what that audience that is in market, and then you just push them to the heat pump, once they search, advertise them on the benefits of the heat pump. All right, so the next campaign we ran just recently in the fall, and these are results. So excellent, even more increased impressions, clicks, video views. So we're rocking and rolling, and we're super happy. And I do know I need to finish up, which is why somebody's clicking through fast, which is good. Next slide. And these are just the breakdown. You can go to the next slide. So those are my successes. I'm going to get to the challenges now. Okay. So it's the plumber. I'll just jump to it, right? We have addressed low awareness, low interest. We're working on it, right? We can continue to work on it together. High upfront costs. I think we lean into program rebates and the IRA incentives, here rebates as they come. And we're so excited that DOE is going to be obligating most of that money. So we'll see a lot of state activity, which, yay, very excited about. And we're addressing the high transactional challenges through these tools like the home savings tool and others that shoots them to contractors and incentives. But plumbers, we still have to work on plumbers. So next slide. And really get, so an effective marketing strategy for heat pump water heaters is going to address consumer demand, but it's also going to get needs to have that push from the plumber. We need to get the plumber on board, okay? And again, I'm preaching to the choir on this. I know we all know this, but we need to work together to really onboard that plumber, or at least onboard the dual trade contractor who does both heat pump, because the contractors get the benefits of heat pump and they can do a heat pump water heater too. So maybe those are the folks that we need to onboard here, but we need that push. We need the workforce to meet the consumer halfway, because even if the consumer wants it, they're not going to be able to get it if they can't get it from their contractor or the distributor, right? So we need that. Next slide. So we are looking into meeting that, and you'll see that Laura's doing the same thing. We're so excited. You create consumer demand, but you also have a campaign directed to plumbers, installers, and you get them on board. So again, you meet them halfway, that pull push marketing. And I'll just end this now with the last. So we're going to do some research to learn about them, develop a campaign. You're going to hear more about that from us. And I'll just point you to some resources that we have. Market Acceleration Guide from my sales and marketing team, Nate Jutras, whom you all know. And it's available. It talks about that three-legged approach that includes not just consumer demand, but also instant rebates and that workforce and developing the workforce. All three of those things need to happen at once to effectively market. And so check it out and provide feedback to Nate. And I'm going to be finishing up the Marketing Acceleration Guide with some marketing materials and sharing all this work that we're going to do with research with contractors. So there you go. As fast as I could. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Jill. You did a great job. That was amazing. That was really great. Thank you so much for going through all these strategies to accelerate consumer adoption of heat pump water heaters. I'm really glad you highlighted the importance of increasing consumer demand. And I think that something that I really feel like I valued was like how your presentation outlined a behavior change continuum. So we're moving consumers away from awareness to advocacy. And so I think that's really great. And so if anyone has any questions that they want to ask Jill, just please put them in the chat. We'll do a Q&A section after the next presenter, but please feel free to drop them in there whenever you feel like it. I can see some are already in there. So thank you so much. And with that, thank you, Jill. And I'm going to introduce Laura. Laura, please feel free to jump in. She's an awesome person. And I could keep going, but I want to go through this quick. So go ahead, Laura.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a very nice introduction. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Wilson, Director of Customer Experience and Marketing with the BDC, calling in from beautiful Seattle, Washington. It's very excited here to talk about what we do with the switches on. Next slide. So the switch is on, what is it? The core objective of the switch is on is to build awareness, favorability, and making the switch towards electrification. We are priming both consumers and contractors, as Jill has noted. That's really important to work on that dual-sided, to embrace this journey to electrify homes. In our three-stage funnel, how we approach this, we look to educate. We need everyday people, mass market, underserved, non-English speaking, both urban and rural areas, to know what a heat pump is, be familiar with induction cooking, understand there's a more affordable way to heat their water in homes. The next part of the three-stage funnel is inspire. We use many different marketing and outreach tactics in our coalition of partners to inspire customers and contractors in their journey to electrify, and I'll go over a couple of those of how we do that. And then the last final one is switch. As Jill had mentioned, we want to look at conversions. So finally, we want to empower them to make the switch. We give them tools like a comprehensive incentive finder, a verified contractor finder directory, and qualifying product finder to make the switch. Next slide. Oh, sorry, you can click all through. I forgot it was all programmed. So 2 more clicks. That's it. Oh, sorry. So multiple layers of marketing, education, and outreach is needed just to showcase all the things that we do for the switches on. Digital platform is really important on the right here side, as mentioned before, digital experience, and then the rest of the things that we do for our marketing and education outreach campaign. We know in this consumer buyer's journey that in addition to delivering consistent messaging, it's important to have the messaging in through many, many, many touch points. And a couple of those touch points I'm going to go over. The first one is going to be around inspire. If you can go to the next slide. My coloring have changed when I moved from Google Slides to Microsoft PowerPoint, but that's okay. Your messages. If you go, so we're going to go over one thing about inspire. Next slide. This one is about our creating trusted messengers. Your message is only as good as your messenger. We know through intuition and now research and the activities that we do with our different volunteers and partners and ambassadors, that inspiration comes from trusted sources, someone telling you about their experience firsthand, someone you trust, friends and neighbors, and chefs. Activating these groups means reaching those who are missed by traditional marketing. On the left and top right here, we have one of our Spanish-speaking volunteer ambassadors. telling her story on Telemundo about electrifying her entire home, including heat pump water heaters. And our staff are doing the same thing in the top right there in Spanish. In the middle here, we have one of our volunteer ambassadors do a home tour for Congresswoman Porter and Secretary Granholm. They went through that and had made a great earned media case around that. Bottom and middle here, we also work with Ferguson, a strong distributor, trusted partner of thousands of contracts to educate them about electrification trends and the program landscape. And lastly, on the bottom left and bottom right, we partnered with chefs like well-known chef Martin Yan and started a Cheffluencer training program to help professional chefs become induction and also electric home superfans to get positive electrification messages out in the communities. Next slide. And what does that look like? On the left here, this is one of our volunteer ambassadors. They did an earned media story in the news about switching their heat pump water heater. And this got into the Los Angeles Daily News and the SoCal News Group, 11 local papers that reached 7.7 million readers each week. As Jill has said, like what is exciting about heat, like how do you make heat pump water heaters and these types of things exciting to talk about? It's exciting when it's a personal story. So our volunteer ambassadors actually have done the switching, talking about that and getting in the news. And then on the right here is another volunteer ambassador that we have. Amazing. They not only go out and do a lot of events and tabling for us because there's a star volunteers, but this one, Mike Roberts created a heat pump song. And it's all about how cool and how hot it is for a heat pump to be used. He switched over to his heat pumps, and he has an exciting song about that. Not a video ad. We did create a video out of it, but if you click onto that link, if the PowerPoints are shared, we can share that with the link to that video and to the song itself. So these are the many ways that it's like organic, it's very natural. You have advocators, champions, ambassadors going out there and just telling these like their own personal stories and testimonials about making the switch. Next slide. To reach more people, we know that people like to consume electric education on video, as Jill had used showcase one of her videos. We create videos where they're ambassadors and partners as well, content to tell their compelling stories. Here on the left here is our ambassador Ying telling her lifestyle benefit of having more time to play pickleball when she made the switch to induction stovetop. And then on the right here, as we have mentioned, that contractors are very key in the recipe. No, induction and heat pump recipe. Contractors on their own electrification journey, and we showcase them in videos as leaders, champions to talk about how heat pump works and what the benefits are. We provide them the inspiration, education, tools to make the switch easier as well. And then next slide. On the left here, and I know I keep talking about this, but we love our ambassadors. They just make such a good connection. We have our ambassadors here with Induction Superstar demoing Southern cooking and induction. On the right here, we have a chef showcasing Vietnamese recipes and induction, speaking about the benefits of electric products. It wasn't just about induction, it was about electric homes and products in general. In Vietnamese to 150 participants. And I said, I know I talk a lot about induction, but it's a gateway to appliances. It's something that is very, people can connect multiculturally, emotionally. It captures attention, intrigue, and it's like the center of kitchen talk. So it leads to more openness to talk about all the other appliances and all the other ways to electrify your home. So we definitely lean on induction as a way to get people interested in heat pumps as well. Our volunteer ambassadors, just to let you know, they are very engaged, passionate volunteers. We have 500 of them all over California. They get involved by doing workshops, hosting meals, doing tours of their own homes with their neighbors and friends and others. And we have about, and they speak about 15 languages, which is really important to speaking language to really connect with folks. And we do about, we're looking to about a few hundred this year of different engagements with our ambassadors and our own community engagement team as well. So that is one way that we are moving the market around electric homes and heat pumps and heat pump water heaters. The second way I'm going to speak about is if you switch to the next slide, is our switching. So our switching is, again, our tools. So if you can go to the next slide. We are at the bottom of the funnel of how we guide and support people through the process of switching. This is our Switches On digital platform. It's more than just a website. It comes with a suite of finder tools. Again, a comprehensive list of rebates, a catalog of rebate-eligible appliances, a directory of expert contractors. And I just want to highlight a little bit of Incentive Finder, but mostly focus on the Contractor Finder. Next slide. We have Incentive Finder where people can locate incentives available in their area. It's the most popular tool on the Switches On digital platform today. We run nearly 500,000 incentive searches every year between consumers and contractors. There are 300 incentives across 80 programs. It's very comprehensive and inclusive at all levels, from federal tax credits to statewide, regional and utility rebates to local rebates for municipal utilities, income qualifying programs, and even induction hub loan programs by the local public libraries. We really aim for maximum coverage to ensure people can find all the incentives that they can get and are eligible for and can apply. And it covers most electric equipment: heat pumps, heat pump water heaters, induction stoves, heat pump dryers, weatherization rebates, energy audits, electric vehicles, solar panels, and batteries as well. Excuse me. Next slide here. So our Contractor Finder, I'm so excited to talk about this because we have recently launched a new Contractor Finder tool that is fully based on the Switches On experience. So we really met with various consumers and various contractors in our user design and research, and we created this Contractor Finder tool that we launched 3 months ago. So this is a curated list of clean energy professionals. We verify each business before they are listed to make sure that they are a real business that provides quality service. They have a valid license. We recheck their license with a CSLB every day to make sure it remains active. This Switches On is the official directory of Tech Clean California statewide rebates and HERA, which is the IRA rebate, federal rebate for certified contractors. We handle the enrollment process, meaning all contractors who want to enroll with Tech and HERA need to apply through the Switches On. We currently have 1,500 contractors today, and I'll go in a second in the next slide about the results that we've been seeing. But the directory is growing about 50 contractors every month. We want to continue to expand the list. We do that through email outreach, through partner channels and networks, including distributors. We're especially looking to recruit minority contractors and those who do work in disadvantaged communities. Contractors also don't need to be enrolled in the state Tech and HERA program. We have the contractors that are involved in our directory too that do electrification as well. We assign badges in the Contractor Finder tool for different things. One of the badges that we're looking to consider is the Energy Skill Badge from the Department of Energy. How do customers use this tool? They use it to find a contractor near them to install a heat pump. The customer requests a consultation, and we send those leads to contractors to establish the relationship, and then we nurture the lead to check that the relationship was established and going well, including a post-project survey. And then next slide. And this is the results. I know it's very small type here, but this is so exciting to share the level of details that we're looking at. That we have created our metrics as since we launched 3 months ago, we have 26,000 searches by 11,000 users. We'll close the year with more than 30,000 contractor searches on the new platform. 1,700 homeowners requested consultations, 1,300 contractor profiles viewed, 16,000 times by 5,000 users. We have 4,000 leads generated for more than 900 contractors. 70% are those for heat pump installations and 10% are for water heaters. And when I say 4,000, that's so exciting to me because our base point or benchmark was 7,000 for the entire year of 2023. So for the last 3 months, we've had 4,000. That is a really, really fantastic way to be for contractors and consumers to really use our tool and get that interaction of a heat pump installed. One thing I want to note is that we do keep track of what types of contractors are in our directory. We have 23% are in disadvantaged communities, 35% are multilingual, 37% are small business, and 14% are money owned. And as I said before, we're definitely really looking to increase contractors, and especially with HERA as an equity rebate, we're definitely looking to try to increase those types of contractors to serve those communities as well. Next slide. So I was asked to provide a challenge in a future project. And as Jill had mentioned before, the big thing is that there's low consumer awareness. And what are we doing for that? But there's also contractors not prioritizing heat pumps. So those are two dual challenges. A future project that we're really excited to do is our private-public partnership called the California Heat Pump Partnership. It is a multiple agencies from California, California Energy Commission and state agencies around that, and OEMs and retailers and distributors all coming together and joining to become put their expertise and experience to develop a targeted and tactical multi-layered marketing campaign approach to educate consumers and contractors. So we're really, really excited about that. It's going to include these ambassadors and influencers and local leaders, experiential events, and then all the things around digital marketing that Jill had also mentioned before. That's really, really very cost effective and great return on investment to do digital marketing as well.
Awesome. Awesome job. Thank you so much, Laura. Always for me, it's always great when you include ambassadors. I think that it's great. It's amazing that your key strategies included leveraging those trusted messengers. And I also really liked how you focus on the importance of localized campaigns. And so this is really outstanding work, and clearly the impact and the numbers speak for themselves. So thank you. This portion of the then we're going to move on to the question portion. So I saw there were some questions in there. And by the way, if you don't necessarily want to include your questions in the chat, feel free to use the raise your hand icon. It is in the top of the Teams window you're looking at. You'll see a smiley face and you'll see a hand, and the hand is your raise your hand. So if you do that, I can put you in the queue and we can get started. Quick introductions in case you kind of just joined us, as I'm seeing some numbers creep up there. Today we're interacting with Jill Vohr. She is the Director of Energy Star Product Marketing and Communications. She manages marketing communications and brand for EPA's Energy Star, and she spoke on how to successfully market HPWHs, and it's in a very high level way, and feel free to go through the slides as you would like. We also spoke with Laura Wilson, and she used to work for Puget Sound Energy, and the largest utility in Washington State, but currently she's the Director of Marketing that switches on and at the Building Decarbonization Coalition. So with that being said, I have some questions in the chat. I'm going to go through those first. And I will direct them to either you, Jill, or Laura, or both of you. So first one is more like a logistical component. This is a question for me. Will this meeting be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded. Everybody, please feel free to keep an eye on your inboxes. We will be sending the slides from Jill and Laura, and we'll also be sending the recording. So please feel free to watch your inboxes. Question for both of you is, in general, actually it's for Jill, is it okay for people to use that video to promote heat pump water heaters on their own websites, the one that we just showed on your slides?
That's what we do. We're the government, so we're here for you all. So what we develop is absolutely free to use from anyone who wants to leverage our materials. So just let me know and we'll get it to you. In fact,
Perfect.
We have toolkits on our webpage, and I can point you to those resources as well.
Awesome, thank you. Another member asked, has there been any attempt to coordinate ad campaigns with manufacturers and/or distributors? They could be valuable partners because HPWHs are premium products for them. I believe that both of you have, and if there's anything you would like to add to that question or would like to answer it, feel free. I'm gonna lob it over to Laura first, just for balance.
Yeah, we completely agree. With the Heat Pump Partnership Initiative, we went through listening sessions with marketing and sales and product folks at 20 different organizations, including Energy Star. And we heard loud and clear that they have really valuable partner assets too, and they do a lot of their own digital marketing campaigns as well. And that's part of the Heat Pump Partnership, is bridging and amplifying together our efforts, and we are looking to do that with the Heat Pump Partnership marketing campaign.
Amazing. Go ahead, Jill.
Yeah, no, I'll just say that one of the things as part of a voluntary partnership program, which is what Energy Star is, and we don't have a big ad budget, right? We just don't. So what we try to do is leverage our advertising to engage our partners to come and meet us in the middle, right? So that's an absolutely a tenet of our partnership program, is that we're both giving, and together we can amplify those messages more and have more success with adoption. Also, you see from the acceleration guide that my colleague Nate just developed, that the three-legged stool of successful heat pump water heater marketing really counts on those partners, really counts on manufacturers, really counts on distributors, and utilities. We are all needed to make it happen.
Perfect, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next question. I think you both really captured that well. Again, if anyone has any follow-up questions, if you're worth the question and would like to follow up, please feel free to raise your hand, or if you have any thoughts, we're definitely happy to make this much more of a discussion. Time is for you all to meet with these powerful women leaders who are amazing in their field. Third question here is, I believe, okay, I see you, Sly Bellis, and I will get to you in a moment here. So why do Energy Star and Building Decarbonization Coalition take such different stances toward clean energy upgrade concierge services like Quit Carbon, Sealed, and Pearl certification? This person notes that Energy Star welcomes partners with and uplifts these innovative expert services, while BDC has consistently turned away from these service providers. It'd be great to hear from both panelists about how they arrived at such different places in regards to the clean energy upgrade ecosystem. It's a tricky question, but I believe that you two are awesome and have thoughts. So anyone can jump, either Laura or Jill.
I'll let you, Jill, first to talk about your perspective.
Well, so I'm a little confused by the question. So we have a new partnership that we've launched back in May of 2024 called the Service Provider Partnership. And we are working with all those organizations that you mentioned to help with services, make services more available, particularly to low-income households, around all of these upgrades, including obviously heat pump water heaters. So I guess I'm a little confused by your question. We are so on board with that approach.
Oh yeah, I think that what they're saying is Energy Star does welcome and partner with and uplift these innovative, like expert advice career services, and BDC is turned away. In my mind, I would almost believe that and I want to speak for you, Laura, you can definitely take it. I just feel like maybe it wasn't in line with the strategy at the time, but I think that it's, as you just demonstrated, already in the works. Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah. Yes, we do have a lot of things cooking in the kitchen. And one of that is that we already have folks like these come to our different presentations through the BDC Presents. We have participants that have presented on that as well. We've opened folks to partner with us at our many community events. So we have created a process for co-partnering at these community events where we are at. We open space for that, for people that can be an expert and talk about their services and their expertise. And so we do have that. The things that I would say that we are still working on trying to roll out is we're creating a platform for folks to talk about their different blog articles and stories and customer testimonials about heat pumps as well. And that comes from these different partners. It can be from OEMs, it can be distributors, retailers, it could be from the ones that are listed here as well. That is just something that we have been creating and putting more resources and capacity to it. We are a nonprofit. And then the second, I would say that there's also intention to roll out and put more emphasis. We already have a design made for service concierge providers, and then we just need more resources and capacity to do that, but his intention is there.
Awesome. And I will say thank you so much, Laura and Jill, for answering these type of questions. That's what this meeting is for. We are all working together in different portions of trying to uplift HPWHs and a bunch of other heat pump technologies. And so this type of space is exactly what this is for. So I'm really grateful for the person for asking that question. I think that both Jill and Laura handled that well. I think you did a great job.
Yeah, and I'll just add that Laura and I are working very closely together because, we cover the whole U.S. We try not to be biased towards any particular state, although we do love California because you guys lead on a lot of this stuff. So go you. But we're happy to coordinate with you, Laura. Well, we are already on making those service providers more available to support whatever efforts that you guys are undertaking. So
awesome.
Right. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so I saw, and I really hope I'm not butchering your name, Bellis had their hand up. Would you prefer to speak your question, or do you want me to read the one you put in the chat? Either
Sure,
way.
yeah, I can quickly ask. First off, thank you so much for this great presentation on all the insights you provided. I'm curious, how did your campaigns consider disadvantaged communities, income qualified customers, and if you kind of made messaging updates, creative updates to address these communities?
So I'll just take that quickly because I didn't speak to a whole nother complement that we have to this education campaign that I just presented. The education campaign is for all incomes, but obviously, as we know, especially the Inflation Reduction Act is leaning in right to LIDAC communities. I have a teammate on the comms team that I work with every day, and she's developing a unique campaign that is targeting LIDAC communities and helping bring the services that are becoming more and more available with these state programs to those audiences. And she's right now, we're echoing a lot of what Laura spoke to around trusted messengers and the importance of ambassadors and getting into the community and community-based outreach. Yes, hearts all around. I'm so excited. I'm going to bring her onto one of these meetings, AWHI meetings, for her to describe this awesome work that she's planning. And we're actually hoping to launch, it's a testimonial campaign, right? Hearing from the messenger. We're also working with Interfaith Power and Light is our big community based organization that we're going to start with, but we're going to be hiring more to get out in the community and talk about these. And I'll bring her by and she can present, but we're hoping to launch in March of 2025 that complementary campaign, again, specifically focused on these audiences. So
Thank you so much.
Great question. Laura, would you like to add?
Sure, we're really excited. We already have some things translated, some of our videos and marketing materials translated. But that's a really great question, Bellis, and I really appreciate that you bringing that up because there is definitely like not just translations, there's a transcreation part to it.
yes.
And we were super excited. Yes, Jill, you totally know and understand me. There is a whole part of what we're excited to do and we call it our multicultural campaign that we're looking to launch sometime next year. We're designing it, we're planning it, and there are some other factors that are playing into it that's delaying it a little bit. But we are targeting Spanish and Chinese. We're looking to transcreate a couple of language pages under switches on for that, and that should be representative of the folks there. And then we're also looking to translate some of our things on our contractor. So having a contractor landing pages for those languages, having some of the like the nitty gritty, like the privacy policy or enrollment form translated, just to be more welcoming in language and encourage more of that. And then when you consider disadvantaged communities, that is very hot because HURA is for those communities. And definitely we know some hierarchy of messaging that resonates well for that. We've done a little research on that and are using that in our blog articles and some of our social media newsletters. And the other thing I would say that we have a very big project of trying to go beyond stock images. We want to have more accessibility on our website itself in two ways. Is making these images not only look like it's not perfect, right? It's lived in, like the house is lived in, right? It's organized, inspiring, but also lived in. And the house is also, like you said, reflect of these communities of what a typical house would look like for folks in those type of neighborhoods. So that's something that it's a special project that we're really focusing on in the next year as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, both of you. I have one more question from someone else, and I believe that might be our last question for today's panel, but please feel free to contact us later. We're definitely more than happy to continue these conversations. Last question for both of you. Is there any parallel marketing effort targeting multifamily/commercial market transformation? And they add that perhaps the effort in that sector would be more targeted to key actors within the supply chain rather than the end user. Anyway, either one of you can go first, but I can lob it and pick Laura for now.
There's definitely a lot of discussions like where do we put our efforts onto what our audience types, and then what kind of marketing is served for that. Right now, we're not focusing on multifamily commercial. We are more to do with small multifamily and single family homes. We are representing a little bit of the renters, but we're not fully serving that audience group yet.
Yeah, I'll just add that our in the products branch, which I am in, we're focused right now on the single family. However, we have other Energy Star branches that work with we have the residential branch and the and commercial and industrial branch, and we're teaming with them to crack the multifamily nut because that's super important. And also my colleague who's doing the LIDAC outreach, that's going to have a multifamily connection. Obviously, there's a ton of renters that we need to address and support. And that's a very challenging audience because they are not empowered, right, to ask for a heat pump water heater from their landlords because there's a lot of issues with that. So the intent is there. I myself am not leading that effort, but I'll keep everybody updated on what we're doing cross branch.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And actually, I have a question coming in for Jill. Specifically, earlier you mentioned how the challenge that is specific to HPWH adoption is regarding the plumbing, how the plumbing contractors don't offer or maybe sometimes discourage HPWHs. What are, in relation to that sort of like discussion, what are the most significant barriers faced by contractors in promoting and installing HPWHs? Like, what do you think is the solution, and what do you think is the issue with like maybe inside of the mindset of like targeting plumbers or making them incentivized?
We actually did some journey mapping as sort of a baseline for the qualitative research we're going to be doing with plumbers, the focus groups that I was talking about. And a lot of it has to do with the plumber's business model, right? They're think about Roto-Rooter, right? Your problems go down the drain. They're addressing problems. They're not salespeople. They don't sell. Okay. And so their business model, how they make their money is just fixing a problem and fixing it quickly, right? So they're going to get a call from somebody in the house that says, I got something's leaking, or, you know, I'm not getting hot water or whatever. And then they're going to come in and they're going to fix the problem. And that's going to be a like for like replacement. It doesn't make financial sense for them to sell you on a heat pump water heater. So that's the biggest, I would say that's the biggest challenge. But you'll also learn that plumbers are not comfortable with the technology. They're worried about callbacks. They're worried about problems. You know, they don't have faith in the technology, right? So there's a lot of training, education that needs to go along with sort of looking at their business model and how do we motivate them. See, with HVAC contractors, leads are a really great motivator, right? Because they go for those monthly checkups. They have a relationship with their customer. They're salespeople, right? And then they get a higher margin on the heat pump, right? And a heat pump installation. So you'll see that market's going to move more quickly, but it's just the plumber model, right? It doesn't access that whole opportunity. So, you know, I don't know what we're going to learn in our qualitative research, and we're going to be working with our teammates like you guys, but I'm thinking that maybe the best strategy is to go over those just work with a dual trade who get it, and let the plumber continue to do what the plumber's doing. We'll see what happens. I don't want to be neggy, but.
Awesome. Okay, well, no, thank you so much for tackling that last question here. Thank you both so much. That basically concludes this portion of the meeting. I want to clarify that this meeting does go on for another 30 minutes, so please, we encourage you to stick around because we're going to go diving into the State of the Market report from AWHI, and we have some amazing news. So, Noah, it's up to you. Take over.
Awesome. Thanks so much for moderating that, Trude, and thanks a ton to our presenters there too. That was great. We're now going to get into the State of the Market report. So next slide, please. So the State of the Market report is being published early next year. It will talk about a variety of products in the heat pump water heater market. We'll also be talking about trends of heat pump water heater growth, as well as predictions based on federal and statewide regulations. And as you can see, there's a little blurb called Preparing the Market for the Upcoming Surge. And we really do hope that will be a large surge. And you can also see that mirrored in the yellow line in the chart in the right upper right-hand side. So we're hoping for a huge boost in the late 2020s, and we'll kind of get into the logic behind that shortly. So next slide. Yeah, so I guess in this, we'll be talking about the history, which my colleague Vidisha will discuss shortly, current state of the market, projections like I was just mentioning, as well as what the available products are, the various form factors and types, and some remaining challenges. And we also are going to be sending out a little survey, what you think are the key barriers in just a bit here. I'll turn it over to Vidisha for this next slide.
Thank you, Noah. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone on the East and West Coast and Pacific time zones. My name is Vidisha. I'm a project analyst with the Building Innovations team. A little over like 6 months ago, I started my journey of trying to learn and understand heat pump water heaters. And I started with the history. It went back to the 18th century when people were trying to understand artificial refrigeration. Somehow, they stumbled upon artificial heating. One after the other, these innovations led to certain explorations, some technological advancements, and to getting patents on what is the concept of heat pump is. And then finally, in 1945, we had our first ground source heat pump. And this whole journey, right from the history until now, has been a journey of science, technology, innovation, a little bit of market emergence, a bit of a phase of instability, uncertainty. And finally, we are here today in 2024. But then if you look back, like, sometime in the 1980s, there were about like maybe 10,000 or 11,000 units that were sold. And then the market sort of went into a period of instability and there was a sudden crash. With only 3 manufacturers left, there was about a drop to the annual sales somewhere to around 2,000 units. But this is around the 1980s and 1990s. And I sometimes wonder, 2 or 3 decades later, what exactly is the stage now? What does it look like in the present? What is the current state of the market report? And what is this current product landscape look like, or the projections look like? For that, I'm going to turn it over to Noah because he's going to drive you into this projection and predictions of how the heat pump water heater market has turned out to be.
Awesome. Thanks, Vidisha. So next slide. Perfect. Yeah, so credit to my colleague Joe Wachunas for this. I know he's usually on and leading these calls, and he put together some of these visuals using recent 2023 shipment data. And as you can see, we're starting to get into that exponential phase of heat pump water heater growth, hitting almost 200,000 units in 2023. So huge growth, still a relatively small share of the total market, as you can see. So 2.1% of all water heater sales. But in a bit, we'll get into why that could really skyrocket in the next few years. So next slide. So some of the policies driving heat pump water heater growth, you can see here. So I want to point your attention to the map on the right. So these are states that have, or I guess in the case of California, air quality management districts that have adopted emission standards. And these emission standards are going to be kicking in at different points in time, a lot of them in the late 2020s. And what they're essentially doing is trying to get around, being able to ban gas outright, instead trying to basically phase out equipment based on emissions specifically, as opposed to just limiting gas hookups. And you can also see that it's very much kind of geared toward the East Coast and West Coast right now. So we're hoping for more of these in the Midwest and the South too. But these states are definitely acting as leaders for adopting, zero NOx or zero emission equipment standard. So it's kind of a nice indirect way to really boost heat pump water heater adoption in the coming decade. So next slide. And again, credit to my colleague Joe here for putting these really cool projections together. And when I first saw this, I was also shocked just to see that yellow line really shooting up around 2029. And the reason for that is because it's when the NAECA, I believe, will kick off in 2029, which is a federal regulation. And if you look at the blue chart on the left here, you can see that crazy jump from 2029 to 2030 in projection from kind of a linear growth, 790, 870K in 2028 and 2029, respectively, all the way to almost 3 million in 2030. And as long as that regulation remains intact, we could really see heat pump water heaters totally eat up the market share of electric resistance water heaters specifically. So we still anticipate gas water heaters to only be declining slowly, but we really do see heat pump water heaters gobbling up that electric resistance market share. And next slide. You can see that this forecast matches one that Reem put out recently. So thanks, Kevin, for putting this projection out as well. Draw your attention to the red bars down below. So that's the share of heat pump water heaters slowly taking much of that electric resistance market share over the next decade. And then in gray, the share of gas water heaters slowly declining. And so we'll see if there's anything else to affect that in the coming years. But we do see that slow growth. And yeah, 30% plus of the market share is really no joke. And that will require a whole bunch more products, and a bunch more sales, a bunch more installers. So all the barriers and the marketing we've been talking about is going to be really pivotal. And folks will have to get informed about this tech real quick. So next slide. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Vidisha here to talk about some of the residential products available today.
Thank you, Noah. And I'm going to carry this momentum of the conversation forward of heat pump water heaters eating up the market. So yes, we do have all these products that have actually accelerated this whole drive. The predictions, all of this will come true with the products that have been out in the market. And if you look at like from what was it like from 5 years ago, we have come a long way forward. I mean, around I think 2009, when Energy Star certification came up, there were about like 23 heat pump water heater models. Currently, as of December 2024, I recently yesterday just happened to see the Energy Star data set. With all the variations and upgrades and model series number, there are over 400 heat pump water heater out there in the market. So you can imagine. I know right now it's going to be a little bit hard and you have to strain your eyes to see what exactly is on the table, but do not worry. We'll be sharing in the full report with you, which will have all the details and you don't have to strain your eyes at all. So this is just a sneak peek of what we try to capture in the product landscape, along with the manufacturers and Energy Star partners, and the specification data sheet that was available at each website. So trying to capture in here what the product models are, the tank dimensions, the first star rating, noise levels, uniform energy factors, electric usage, required input voltage, as well as what could be like the technology type. Is it like 240, 140 or split system? And before I move on to my next slide, just a little bit of announcement. Right now, we have captured the maximum number of products that are out there, most of them which are Energy Star certified and otherwise. But there are some products which will make into this list in the next year. We are hopefully waiting for GE Geosprings and Bits Limited's Ecological to be included in the product landscape for the next year's report. On the same note, Embertex will also come out with an upgraded new product on their split system. Since I mentioned, along with the 240 volt, we also have a 120 volt and split system out in the market. Currently, we just have 2 manufacturers, but we are keeping our fingers crossed that moving forward, we'll have more manufacturers coming in forward with different innovations. But then hold and behold, this is just the residential product landscape. When it comes to the commercial product landscape, I'm not the subject matter expertise here, so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Noah.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, sweet. Also, a few products to mention here for central technologies, which are quite different than what we're used to for the unitary or integrated ones for single-family homes. So only looking at the heat pump part here, of course, central heat pumps are going to be part of a much larger system. They'll usually have some sort of recirculation components. They'll also have storage tanks, which are separate. So we're just looking at the heat pump component itself, which includes that vital component, the compressor. So wanted to mention that NBI is leading a DOE-funded project called MAGIC, or Made in America Grid Integrated Central Heat Pump Water Heaters. And so we'll actually be testing some of these products throughout the next 2 years and getting a bunch of performance data in both kind of more temperate and cold climates. And I will draw your attention over these next 3 slides to which ones we will be looking at. So go back 1 slide, Trude, there. Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to be looking at the Colmac CXV and then also IntelliHot IE1 in MAGIC. Next slide. Then we'll also be taking a look, hopefully, at the Lochinvar and Mestec products listed here in MAGIC for sites 3 and 4. And I do know that Mitsubishi is being tested thoroughly in our kind of sister project Scaling Up, which is being led by DNR International. So next slide. And then lastly, for MAGIC, we'll also be looking at the Nile E-Series and the Lars eTherm. So whole bunch of new products to market being tested in MAGIC, a bunch more existing products being tested in Scaling Up. So quite a few new product offerings recently for this sector, and we're hoping that it'll rapidly increase adoption because unlike the residential market, which is already really taking off, the multifamily market is little harder, more expensive equipment, right? So having more competition, more options is always awesome. And as Vidisha said, this will be in the upcoming release, the roadmap report that we were mentioning before. So you'll have all this information handy with all these various statistics on the available products. So next slide. Yeah, so remaining challenges. I mentioned that I popped a little poll here in the chat what the main barriers are, and this can be applied to either those multifamily commercial heat pump water heaters or residential. And a bunch of people have filled out this poll, and it seems like installation costs and equipment costs are still really these biggest barriers. So that's great to think about. Definitely echoes what some of the work we're doing at AWHI, looking at trying to bring down those costs. But yeah, just interesting food for thought there. Next slide. And I will turn it over. Oh, I guess it is still here. Is it? I think it's you, Vidisha, here.
Oh, yes, no, I can take it from here. Thank you. So yes, over the last 6 months, we had a good number of interactions with stakeholders. We were trying to understand the perspectives, what challenges they have faced, what solutions they are trying to come up, and what future do they see when it comes to the potential of heat pump water heaters. And we put together, culminated this whole understanding. And I'm also going to take forward Jill's conversation that she mentioned earlier during the meeting. Awareness, education, gap in the communication, the way you want to phrase it up or name it. There is this information piece that does not really fit in the way it should be. For example, when we talk about heat pump water heater technology, are we putting it out as this technology that is not relatable? Are we making this information too technical for a consumer to understand? One of the stakeholders very beautiful put it out, and he said, how about we make this easy to understand? And there was this whole conversation. And yesterday I happened to read this blog. Someone wanted to test how this heat pump water heater actually saves on energy bill. So they observed their usage patterns. They had an input of the energy usage of every day. They made like a sheet out of it. And towards the end, they concluded that on a monthly basis, like every month, on an average, they saved $23 on their energy bills, which is great. So what resonates here is the amount that you saved on your energy bill. Very easy to understand, relatable. So the consumer could not just relate to the technology, but to the usage and benefit. And I think as a normal human reaction, it's pretty obvious for us to look for what we are going to get out of from it. So since we keep marketing or talking about like, this is about decarbonization, being green cautious, which is absolutely the right point. But when we reach out to the consumers, we also have to talk in a language, in a very simplified message that they are able to relate and understand. This was one of the very beautiful takeout from the interactions that I had with a lot of stakeholders and also some of the knowledge sharing that we had during our working group meetings. And as AWHI, we plan to put out resources. We will plan to have a more market outreach through Heat Pump Water Heater Day, through webinars, and also in our resources, we are going to focus on efficiency means 4-quadrant heat pump water heater customer acquisition. We are going to outline a fact sheet so that people could relate to it. There is an awareness, and also there is an education that goes out. Apart from this, there was also another point that was mentioned during this interaction that utilities can also step up and bring out more flyers and educational pieces and reach out to the consumers in a more relatable format. For example, I know there are programs which directly mention that you get $500 off when you make the switch from a conventional water heater to a heat pump water heater. So this makes not just like a relatable content at the same time, but it also sort of provides an assurance to the consumer that some of the first cost challenges will be handled. But then again, when we talk about first cost challenges, it's definitely a barrier. Say, for example, we went over this first barrier of fixing the communication gap and educating people, and someone is ready to buy a heat pump water heater. What comes next? The cost. And what happens when there is a cost installation issue? Noah, what do you think about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So next slide, please. One of the biggest barriers, which is reflected by the poll we just sent out, and actually the top barrier according to votes, is the high kind of upfront and installation costs. And one of the areas NBI is doing research in right now is the installation cost specifically. So I've done a bunch of interviews with contractors who were kind enough to speak with me and offer their wisdom of what can really drive up heat pump water heater installation prices, and factors like either full or partial panel upgrades, service upgrades, all the normal things you think about, but then some very niche things like the weight of certain heat pump water heaters requiring 2 contractors and therefore doubling the labor time essentially and really jacking up that price. So that will be coming out in Q1 of 2025. Very in-depth look at the factors that are driving cost compression. It'll also contain some data analysis. We sent out multiple surveys asking folks in AWHI and through other channels what it cost to install their heat pump water heater. And the results will definitely be interesting, I think, for folks. Kind of talked about both DIY and having a contractor come out and do the work for them, and looking at the price in various regions of the US. And then there's definitely some good variety there, all the way from, basically free installations or just paying for a few parts, doing it themselves, all the way up to, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to have a contractor do it. So still a definite barrier and a lot of variety too, depending on the contractor and the difficulty of that job. So yeah, kind of what we should collectively do to address this challenge. I think some of these barriers that we were talking about earlier, like having more consumer awareness, more demand, more product availability to different form factors, right? And then, of course, the paramount issue of just that dearth of contractors right now. The more contractors we have, ideally, the more experience there is, and the more they can kind of, drive down costs without having just, too few folks doing these jobs. So next slide.
You're absolutely right, Noah. We need more contractors. And this brings me back to the conversation that I had with stakeholders. And someone said it very beautifully, and even I agree. This whole beauty of the supply chain is that it's a network. There is a product that is manufactured. It goes through like a supply chain to a distributor, to a retail store, a contractor, plumber, installer, then takes it and brings it to your home and gets it installed. So if you're looking at a market acceleration or market drive, it does not just happen at the manufacturer's a warehouse or a lab. It has to go through the supply chain. So yes, scaling the workforce, increasing space or increasing people in this space is equally important. But then how do we do this? Providing assurance and giving them the confidence that there is stability in this workspace. People are hesitant when there is a new technology, and their confidence is limited when they do not have the exact amount of information or the right amount of information about the technology. So they really don't want to move forward. Why should I go with a heat pump water heater? That's the question. And when you have these sort of questions or like some doubts about the technology, there again the piece comes about education. Yes, educating the contractors. That's how we build the confidence. That's how we grow the market in this particular workspace. At the same time, we should also reach out to community colleges. One of the stakeholders very beautifully mentioned that not everyone is on LinkedIn and Indeed. Sometimes you have to reach out to vocational schools, community colleges, put it out in every medium as possible so there's maximum outreach. People come to know about it. There are some such specialty programs which could also sort of increase this interest level. For example, the specialty plumber's license in Oregon, which allows you to entertain a certification in this particular space without having to become a journeyman plumber, which is great. So if you're interested and if you want to see how well you could do, or if you want to take this forward, you can definitely come and take a certification and then make an informed decision. Scaling the workforce is not just a critical piece in accelerating this whole drive, but at the same time, I think there's also this piece of equity of trying to build this workforce in the sense that when we move forward with this whole concept of green transition, we are moving forward as a whole. But that's still, I think, a very small piece of understanding in this really broad concept. So yes, what else should we do collectively to address this challenge? You can always put in your thoughts in the chat, and you can also reach out to us, and we'll include that in the State of the Market report. But then thinking about like, say everyone is trained, they get access to educational resources, the workforce is growing, and then they reach out to the consumers. What really happens is that how we have addressed this challenge? We have the technology, we have the contractors who are informed, and we just need to install it in the consumer's home. It's not that simple. Not everyone has a single family home. Some people live in multifamily buildings too. I live in an apartment community. So if I want to install a heat pump water heater, I have to take into considerations a lot of things. Do I have the space in the closet or in the utility area to install a heat pump water heater? What size would fit? Definitely my plumber, installer, or contractor is going to give me all the information that is required. But is that information enough? Maybe we need a little bit of more innovation and moving forward with product development. And if you look back from where we started with heat pump water heaters to where we are now, 2 or 3 decades later, we have really upgraded the technology. Innovation, this is how it happens. You keep on upgrading, you keep on innovating, you keep on moving forward. So in multifamily buildings, what are the options that we could explore? A combi system that could not just cater to hot water, but also to space heating. A split system, whereby you eliminate this whole troublesome points of like, how do I fit this whole system in my house? Let's split the system, an outdoor unit and an indoor unit. Let's get rid of the noise issues. Or maybe my personal favorite, a wall hung unit, which does not really have a market scope here in US at the moment, but I really hope sometime in future it should, or it can come here in US. And we have all of these wall hung units, split systems and combi systems, which are doing pretty well in the other regions like Europe, Australia, and Asian market. So maybe in future, we will have a scope for them in US as well. But is that enough? Noah, what do you think? Is there anything else that I should add on to this form factor?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. You give a great explanation, and I too wish we had, wall hung units here. Whenever we've come across them in travels, it's very cool to see. So I already talked about our Magic and then our, kind of sister project scaling up. So I want to address that again here, but we're also looking at a small commercial heat pump water heater study that's just started off this year, and it's going to go through 2026. we are working with Ecotop to monitor ideally 25 small commercial heat pump water heaters, mostly throughout California, but also so far potentially some in the Northwest and in Texas. And we're going to identify how these units perform. We're specifically looking at the 120-gallon form factor or similar for locations like quick service restaurants, small offices, or small multifamily buildings, or even something like a gym, right? That has a reasonably high hot water use, but so higher than a single family home, but a lot less in a large multifamily or industrial building. So that's kind of one of those niche form factors that's still growing rapidly. And we've already begun recruitment there, starting to get M&V equipment in, and should have data rolling in early 2025. So that'll be an awesome report that comes out in 2026. Basically, third-party verification of these new form factors. And lastly, we are also hoping to start. Oh, sorry, go back one. Thanks so much. We're also hoping to start a 120 volt / 240 volt combo unit TAC or Technical Advisory Committee next year. So kind of like how AWHI pushed for the 120 volt heat pump water heaters back in 2018, and then manufacturers were awesome and rose to that challenge, creating that new form factor to help with retrofits. We are similarly hoping to have a kind of dual 120 or 240 volt heat pump water heater that can go in as a retrofit project, go in as 120 volt before panel upgrades or service upgrades are done. So it's able to run and really meet that need for immediate hot water. However, it gives the option down the road to go up to 240, gaining that additional capacity as needed. So we will have more information on that hopefully in the new year. Next slide.
Thank you, Noah. Towards the end, yes, there are certain times, some questions about the product. And I'm going to quote my colleague Noah here, who said something very beautiful yesterday. That whenever there is a new technology, it comes with its own baggage. True, absolutely, I agree. There is a graph. The graph can go up sometimes, it can come a little bit down. There could be a little bit of a saturation period, but this whole graph is a journey. Again, I would repeat that this is a journey of innovation where we keep on advancing and upgrading the product. So yes, sometimes there are certain issues. There could be some installation failures, or there could be a maintenance service request call. There could be replacement of a product. But all of these things do not undermine the scope and potential of this technology. And I personally believe the potential of this technology is unbeaten. So to address these issues, to understand what exactly and how and why these issues stem from, we are trying to put together a product reliability task group in 2025 so that we could identify potential solutions and do knowledge sharing to bring out more assurance on product reliability than any uncertainties or doubts. And as we move forward, these are not just the only challenges. I wouldn't say that, oh, we covered everything else and we could just identify the issues. Maybe not. Noah, what do you think? Do we have anything else that we probably might have missed out?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are always going to be small things, but I think we covered the biggest ones. But I'm seeing in the chat right now that folks are chiming in with other challenges like the cost of CTA 2045 ports, which is definitely real. And yes, so I think folks feel free to chime in the chat. This is always, we want this to be an interactive group. But I think we definitely cover the main ones today. So is that it? Do we have another slide?
That's almost it. And I'm just going to address some of the comments, very informative that those are in the chat. Definitely, yes, Lucy, it's not just the awareness and it's really not that simple. But the start with the simplifying messages, I think would be great. Making it more relatable so people are ready to have that conversation. I think it also somewhere, it's just my personal opinion, that I also believe that when we have a simplified message, contractors also feel slightly confident to have sort of initiating that conversation. And I'm also going to chime in what Jill said about the dual contractors. Yes, absolutely. HVAC contractors are not intimidated by the heat pump water heater technology. They really have that confidence and they do really well selling the HVAC equipments. So when we leverage synergies of these two sectors together, I think not just the information comes out in a more relatable, understandable, and easy manner, but it also sort of gives an assurance to the consumers. So yes, your point is well taken. There's a lot of things that needs to be done in the education piece. And in 2025, I'm very hopeful that we'll be moving forward in the right direction. Yes, as point is replacing the heat pump. Yes, when it breaks, people want to replace a heat pump. And I'm going to again chime in what Jill said that people just want hot water, which is pretty much true. I've heard this from most of the people that interview that people are more worried about hot water. I'll also try to I'll bring this up one of the interactions where there was this split system that was being placed in an affordable housing community, and people were not worried about what kind of a water heater it was, whether it was a heat pump water heater or a traditional water heater, as long as someone was taking care of the cost. So here, they were just okay with whatever is working out. They are not worried about the noise. But the contractor was very impressed with the split system because he felt that this was a perfect technology for the affordable housing, having an indoor and outdoor unit. And that kind of confidence, when I see in a contractor having that enthusiasm, having that curiosity, like what would come next and how would this fit into a multifamily building or in an urban space, it just opens our road to exploration into bringing in more product developments with different configurations and deployment strategies. On that note, I'm going to just wrap this up that this whole journey is not like a one-man army. It's a collaboration. It's a vision, dedication, commitment of many people who have come together in bringing this advanced water heating initiative platform to be a platform of knowledge sharing. So yes, a big thank you to all of you who have been a part of this journey and who are instrumental in keeping the momentum moving forward. Also, if you know any of your friends and colleagues you think could add valuable contributions to the team, please pass on the word. And I also want to give a big shout out to my colleagues Noah and Trude for moderating and leading this all stakeholders meeting today wonderfully. Thank you so much, Noah and Trude. And
Thanks.
lastly, most importantly, I want to say a big thank you and a big shout out to Joe Vachunas, Senior Project Manager at Building Innovations team at New NBI, who has been instrumental in getting this whole state of the market report together. It was his vision from the beginning, and he has been absolutely a wonderful mentor. And also big kudos to my commercial heat pump water heater market space one-stop resource guide, Noah, for putting in all the insights and leading this market report with me today. So thank you, everyone. Wishing you all the greatest of your day. Happy holidays. See you all in 2025.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, Felicia.
Thank you, Vidisha.